Hey, it's Robert Beard, the host of the Commercial Landscaper podcast. These podcasts challenge you to grow as a leader, to stretch yourself beyond your comfort zone, and to 10x your company. I really encourage you to enjoy the show, share it with teammates, fellow business owners, and subscribe. That helps us grow our community. Hi, this is Robert Beard, the Commercial Landscaper podcast. Excited today to be joined by Ryan Markewich. Did I say that name correctly?
You did, and I've been called a lot worse than Mark, so don't worry about that.
Well, yeah. I as well have been called many things with my unusual last name. So thanks for joining us today, Ryan.
Thank you for having me. I've been following you on LinkedIn for some time. I know we tried to connect a few times, and we finally got to it.
No, I think last time we spoke, you were on a sunny beach or sunny port somewhere in Mexico, I believe. So I was pretty jealous.
Yeah, I've spent the last 12 or 13 winters in Mexico, anywhere from a month to 5 months in my longest term. So I really enjoy it.
No, that's awesome. I'm definitely jealous of you. I love traveling, and especially when there's some sun and ocean breeze going through. So definitely jealous. But tell the audience a little bit more about your background.
Sure. I'll do a high level. 32 years in the industry, landscaping industry. Started off with just mowing lawns. It evolved to design, build, maintenance of the luxury home market, which suits where we are. It also suited a bit to what I wanted to do. So we guided the business to that position. And so 32 years, did things the tough way. The first 10 years, learning as you go, and not really having much systems or anything in place to help the process of growth and scaling. And it was all just done on determination and insanity. And so, about 10 or 12 years in, I stumbled across a book, Great Game of Business. I learned a lot about open book management, and I just said that that's the way I want to run my company. I want to be inclusive. I want to be transparent. I want people to realize and learn the realities of business. And basically, I want to talk business with the people I'm in business with. I didn't want to run off to conferences, have these secret conversations, learn my shit, come back, and then have to portray all that and feed it down the line. The level of excitement was different. And I just felt the more we just talked about business, all things business, the financials, the strategy, our acumen just went up together. And I found that I didn't really realize which players would run with the ball until I actually threw them the ball. And I'm surprised at how successful it's been for me. And we didn't grow a crazy big company. We're hovering in that 5 million mark. But I did manage to sell 85% of it to 6 deserving employees so far. And we've built a model that can scale within the structure that we've built. And that makes me proud. And now I see the guys who worked hard to make my life what I want it to be, they're also being successful, and that's rewarding.
It's awesome. Also, now, obviously you are spending some time, and obviously you got a great business to allow you time to travel. But have you seen a difference now with your company in terms of either growing or whether it be revenue or number of employees, just right, because of that shared ownership piece?
Yeah, they say that typically it's a leader standing in the way at some level. And, as much as it would have pained me to maybe believe that many years ago, I would say that, now that I've shared so much information, I shouldn't even say I've shared it. We've shared it. And I have to be careful with the narrative because it really was a team effort. And that I don't always have the best ideas. And I don't have to fix or save the day. In fact, the last 2 years I'm not even on the payroll. I don't have an active role at all. Although yesterday you might have caught me on top of this compost pile with the excavator having some fun.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I wasn't getting paid for that. I have my 15% of dividends. I attend a monthly shareholders meeting. We measure against our plan. We have a very solid well-defined, extremely detailed long-term vision in place for 2030 that we wrote in 2020. And so we're constantly benchmarking what we're doing on all aspects of our business relative to where we say we want to be as we define winning. And I find that, with that structure in place and the fact that we've built a vision, and it wasn't my vision, that we built one large enough collaboratively and collectively that it's left enough room for other people to see there's a place in it for them. And that's motivating for them. So they take it and run with it. And now that people have a stake in the outcome with regards to not only like profit sharing or just creating a better place to work, but actual equity in the company. Yeah, it just sometimes it blows my mind. I'll attend a meeting, and I don't attend many of them, but the things that are coming out of those young guys and gals' mouth, like the things that they're saying, are like, wow, like it's pretty incredible that you're thinking in that manner.
No, that's awesome. Now going back to the time when you said, "Hey, I'm going to embrace the great book of business," and it is a great book. I've met the author of that and heard him speak, and yeah, absolutely tremendous. I mean, there must have been some type of pain point or something that occurred for you to, because I talk to a lot of people and they'll say, "Oh yeah, we want to either bring in a coach or we need help with the business," but sometimes I feel as though that pain point is not hurting enough for them actually to take that next step. But I'd love to hear back on your experience.
I've only hired one coach, and I can't say I'm embarrassed about that because I've always been good at finding mentors. I've always been good about finding self-help. The coaching would have sped things up a lot. I know that. But I read the book and I went down there to Springfield, Missouri. I did a 3-day get in the game workshop, and I met Jack Stack and all those guys. And I said, well, this is just a really interesting way of running it. It just seems so practical and so logical that if you're going to be on the field with a bunch of players, that you all understand what the goals are, what the strategies are, what the plays are, and you're working in unison. And so the big thing is like the goalposts at the end of the field, they don't change. So you set those, whether it's annually or 3-year goals or 10-year goals, but the unfolding drama that happens every day is what we need to be equipped with, like each one of us. Because if only one person's equipped with that knowledge and how to deal with that particular situation, then that's the bottleneck. So you start thinking about the theory of constraints in all this. So, it's that was a turning point. I was that bottleneck. Everything came back to me, of course, because I was the only one crazy enough to stay up till 2 or 3 every morning, making sure that the next day was perfectly planned out. But that caught up with me. It's we've been very fortunate that we've always been profitable, and there's not a lot of businesses that can say that. But that also came at a cost, right? It's like thousands and thousands and thousands of hours over top of what would have been considered a normal gig.
Absolutely, yeah. And yeah, now you're enjoying, what it should be like with an owner founder where you're off there enjoying the beach and whatever.
Yeah.
When you went through that, keep that sort of football analogy or theme there. When you come in, you start to introduce methods, whether it be great game of business or some other method. Often you find that either one of your teammates, one of the team is not in the right position.
Yeah.
Or they perhaps shouldn't even be on the field.
Yeah.
Did you come across that type of scenario when you were trying to roll out this new program?
All the time, and still do. Less and less, because now our culture is that the way we are is attracting the type of people that are more apt to want to be on this field and play the way we play. But it doesn't mean everybody who comes to the door understands what they're getting themselves into. And so, yeah, definitely in the beginning, that was a thing because it was new. And, Isn't the boss always trying something new? Isn't the boss always trying to get more from their people? And, I don't know. I go back to a saying I heard when I was really young by Jim Rohn. It says, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And so I always just said, I have to look in the mirror first to see how the results I'm getting are a reflection of who I am. And, and there's lots of days where I was blaming other people, but, it all boiled in the end, more often than not, it boiled down to me looking in the mirror and saying, this is just the way I want to run business. I want to go collectively. I want to have friends. I don't want to change my employees like I do my socks every day. I just don't want to be lonely at the top. And so that's kind of the pain point, was that, getting back to your question, but the process was drawn out because we were young and we were still not willing to invest the money in a coach. We did hire a coach, but it wasn't full-time enough to help us implement as painlessly as it could have been.
Right. Makes sense.
So what took me 10 years, doing it that way, I can now work with people and get them there in 6 months.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that. There's a cost to it, but it shortens that learning curve.
But the real cost is not it's not a sales pitch at all. It's what's the cost of inaction? Like, forget the money. Just think about how far down the rabbit hole owners get with stress and family pressure, and that is a real cost. And I've experienced that. And so if I knew then what I know now, I might have went a different way. But the cost of inaction, the cost of not leveraging, the relationships you can build or get the help you can, is different. And hey, 20 years ago, it was different, Robert. These days, God, AI.
Oh, I know, 100%. You've got so many resources.
Oh, the LMN, the whole there, and there's so many different things out there, so many coaches, so many mentors. I'm now an advisor with the Leanscaper platform, and the things that they're doing is it's incredible just to see the amount of just information, not even to pull you in and get you. It's just like, here is how you run a good business, and you can be a part of that. You can join the community for free and just listen to it. There's Kevin Scott with the Wealthy Landscaper. There's all the things that you put on. There is just countless.
Yep.
Marty Grundy, Grunder, and so forth.
Yeah, there's, and I think that's why there's obviously a lot of activity in the M&A space, but I'm also seeing people who have started businesses maybe 2 or 3 years ago who are now quickly getting up to that 5-7 million range because of all the tools now available. Whereas I also have conversations with people that have been in the business for 30 or 40 years that are still sitting at that 5 million because they're not opening themselves up to either help or looking at new best practices. So really interesting what's going on.
And markets play a role there.
That's true.
When I started 32 years ago, this was I wouldn't say it was a hick town, but it was still considered on the luxurious side for Canada. But no one had $100,000 landscape. What? Yeah. No, let alone the one like we're working on ones now that are north of $1 million. And so things have changed in the market.
Let's take a minute to thank our sponsors. Urcher is a life brand born from grit, founded by Zach Strausser. The mission is clear: to raise $1 million for the trades by supporting vocational training across North America. Urcher makes tough, smart gear built for landscaping and snow professionals who work hard outside every day in all conditions. Their apparel puts safety first, helps crews look sharp, and honors the pride in their craft. Every purchase has purpose, fueling training programs and building a resilient workforce. Urcher isn't just workwear, it's a culture of respect, resilience, and results. When you contact Urcher, mention Wilson 360 and Zach and his team will take well care of you. One of the things I've experienced, and going back to the Jack Stack program, that a lot of people in that that second, third tier rarely get exposed to the financial piece, and it's
That's
just
right.
a lot of learning needed there. And well, how did you go through that type of
Right.
learning curve?
Well, I think, there, first and foremost, there's a lot of good operating systems out there that don't go to that level. I'll mention EOS, and we'll compare the two just for 1 second. It's EOS has a lot of very simple, practical things, and you can read the book, and that all makes sense. It really does. And if you implement properly, you're definitely going to get better results. That said, it does not go to the depth, and it doesn't put the level of belief in every team member that you would be putting in by believing that if people have the right information, that they will do the right things with it, that they are smart enough to understand it. And then the financials are very simple. And in fact, they're far less complicated than a lot of the landscapes that we build. So getting back to your point there, there's a formal and an informal aspect. If you have a group of people that is interested, you can put them through some formal financial literacy training. You can do a book club with the book like Simple Numbers.
Mm.
You can just have them in the meetings. You can talk about how in our annual high involvement planning, we talk about how we build our budget. We ask questions and we build budgets out from a people perspective, because we say that the numbers are only stories about people in the end anyways. So they get a lot of informal training just by being in the room when we're talking about these things. And we do it on a regular cadence. It isn't just hey, we should have a meeting. It's every week or every second week. It's departmental financial meeting and KPI drivers. And then once a month, company wide, we're going to collate all the departmental's gross profit numbers into one company gross profit number. We're going to subtract the overhead. We're going to show the net. We're going to reward people with a profit gain sharing program based on net profit company wide. So they follow it. They follow it from how the numbers were built in the budget based off people. And we're considering market trends, macroeconomic, microeconomic climates. We're talking about people, skilled, tenure, facility, equipment, all of that stuff. And they follow it from there into a budget, which gets made into a plan, which gets tracked on a scoreboard by the department. Then it gets tracked by company, and then they have an outcome tied to the thing. So they can follow that journey, and it's far more interesting than just being called in and given a report. This is where we're at. You guys should do better.
Yeah.
That's not very motivating.
Yeah, so it's almost after the fact. Whereas if you're actually part of the process and you're monitoring it on a daily, weekly basis, then you can actually make a change. So,
well, when you're playing a game, football or basketball or hockey, they put the score on in real time. That's a simple way to look at it. The players need to know the score.
yeah,
That's simple as that. So they can make behavioral changes in real time before the game's done. If you wait till the end of the game to put the score up, it's too late to change the outcome.
Yeah, I use that all the time, and it's just amazing when you see that light bulb come on when you mention that to clients or prospects. So, how about I've heard some comments of I've heard a few companies talk about moving their company towards employee owned, and I've heard a couple of people say that love the concept, but the challenge is that do the employees that take over the business, do they have that same appetite for risk?
And
Because
maybe
obviously,
not.
maybe when you started, you were scrambling to try and meet payroll. You were experimenting with a lot of things, and now is that same risk tolerance?
Yeah, no, and they won't. There's no way. And different people have different risk tolerances, and I think you need a balance as you scale. If there's nothing to lose, then risk it, right? When there gets to be more to lose and there's more families on the line and their livelihoods, then there's definitely some thought to be put into that. So right now, I would say the reason that we're only at 5 million is simply because I was satisfied with my life and I was kind of the guy who had the answers. And I'm not a huge risk taker. We've always been profitable, so we didn't scale fast. We just didn't do it. The 2030 vision that we've collectively built has us doubling that by 2030.
Mm.
So there's an appetite for it.
Right.
And
That's
so
awesome.
I think there's something to be said about each one of our strengths will always lead to our weakness. And I think when you get enough people in the room that are fighting for the same thing, who are working for the same why, and they have a vision that we can all say, hey, that might not be perfect for me, but that covers 80% of everything I think I would have liked to have accomplished by that end date, then you just work towards getting that done and then reestablishing what winning looks like for the next period. And that's how you use a well-written vision, in my opinion, as a tool, and not just something that you write because someone said you should have one. It really has to be looked at. And we do quarterly state of the vision reports with our team company-wide. So we have our quarterly goals, and we say, if we do these things and we work on them every quarter and we accomplish them slowly, we're going to get there. I think one of the big things is when you're talking to somebody and saying, well, look, it took 32 years to get to 5 million. And you're going to double that almost in another 4 or 5 years. What they don't realize is that that's only about a 15% growth year over year. And so you just have to make that strategy understandable. And it's so simple as a team of 3 in the design build in the luxury market can do about $1 million, $1.1 million, $2 million in revenue. So you're saying in the next 2 years, we can't add 6 people onto our team? So you get buy-in through, what do you call it? Common sense.
Yeah, common sense, making sure you're getting alignment there, making sure you're on the same page. That's your comment there touches on a couple of things which I've really embraced over the last few weeks. Is the one comment is around we don't think big enough. Coming around mindset. A lot of us will think, oh, that's 2x, and people immediately think about the obstacles related to that. I'm now a firm believer in why not 10x? How can I 10x? Who are the people that can help me 10x? And then another thing, it was actually from a MIT, somebody who I think was at MIT and then left early. And then she was the one who said, why not think 5 or 10 years ahead what your company is going to look like and start acting and thinking although you're already there.
Of course.
And those things just hit home for me. What's your thoughts around that?
Well, I think if that's manifesting. I mean, I in a way, it's you're manifesting it. You're like, I'm already there. Oh boy, if I'm already there, I better act this way. It's and so no, I believe in that wholeheartedly. Visioning and you're to build a vision that's hopeful and inspiring that other people want to be a part of, and then proving that these are the things. You can't always be acting like that in its fullest because you haven't been there. You don't really know, but you can always improve. And whether that is by, improving operations or improving on your financials or in your culture and people, or in your marketplace, which is your customer facing, there's just always something you can be working on. And if you do it with intention, which is what you're talking about, you're intentionally going to act this way now, because that's the way you're going to have to be when you get there. There's just a far better chance you're going to win and achieve what you're trying to achieve.
Yep, 100%. Ryan, what's the best way for any final messages for some of these up and coming newer business owners?
Yeah.
And also, how can people get in touch with you?
Sure. My message is this: if it feels lonely, you're going about the wrong way. If it feels lonely, You're doing too much of something alone. And there's a way around that. And it starts with a strong belief in people, that people are smart enough to know it, that if they do know it, they'll do something with it. And if they do something with it, collectively, you'll all have a better outcome. I mean, a company's not worth anything unless someone wants to own it. And ultimately, the company is the product, in my opinion. So work on the company like it's the product. You just happen to be landscapers. You just happen to be plumbers. You just happen to be construction guys, whatever it is. So that's a word there. As for getting a hold of me, I love talking about this stuff. You can reach out on LinkedIn, is probably the best. And RMark Coaching, that's RMARK Coaching on LinkedIn, or my website, rmark.ca. And you can find my email there.
Awesome. Ryan, really appreciate your time today. Some great words of wisdom, and that was fantastic. So I really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, good to finally catch up with you, Robert, and enjoy your day.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. I hope you're walking away with some great nuggets that you can immediately apply to your business, whether you're in leadership, operations, or you just want to show up every day with an Ironman mindset. Remember, growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens with intentional moves, bold conversations, and surround yourself with the right people. If you found value today, subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with others. And again, don't forget to check out wilson-360.com. We have digital courses from account management, operational excellence, leadership development, or some of the other coaching packages we offer. Anyway, a huge shout out to our sponsors. Thank you very much. And I'll leave with this. Have a pure, dead, brilliant day.